So, hi everyone, and welcome to the latest Astra Worldwide podcast. Today, we are delighted to have Don Black with us, who is a friend of mine who I've known for 30 or 40 years. And we will be discussing today Spain, and in particular Andalusia, and the attraction of the real estate market there. And this will cover both off-plan developments, resales, and also we will talk about, people who might want to relocate there for work, retirement, lifestyle, or many other reasons. I think it's fair to say that, Southern Europe and Spain in particular is perhaps one of the most popular areas in the world at the moment for people who are looking to relocate, work, or invest. And it's great that we have Don on board today because literally he has over 40 years of experience working in this market, and he is able to speak multiple languages, including Spanish and English. So we should be able to help most of you out there who are interested in looking at this exciting market. So how are we going to do this basically today? So we'll cover all the points that people might be interested in moving to Spain. And then we'll look forward to sort of getting questions or emails from you if you have any questions on our podcast. So I'd like to kick this podcast off by welcoming Don. So Don, welcome to our podcast today. Where are you at the moment and how are you doing?
Thank you very much, James, and hello to everyone. I'm actually in Estepona, which is just down the road from Marbella on the Costa del Sol in Andalusia, southern Spain. And as I think I mentioned earlier, it's a local holiday here at the moment, so it's nice and quiet. The sun is shining, and I'm very much looking forward to chatting with you, James.
Okay, great. Well, Don, let's kick this off with sort of an obvious question to start with, which is why are so many people moving to Spain and especially the Costa del Sol at this moment in time? And why has this sort of really boomed since COVID, as it were?
Generally, obviously, the obvious things stand out. It's the climate here is second to none in Europe. They boast 300 sunshine days a year. And they're not far off, despite the fact we've had a slightly rainy season this year, but it's much needed. And, as I say, the lifestyle, it's outdoors lifestyle, pretty much most of the time. It's mild winters, hottish summers, and, lots of outdoor activities. I think the location here as well is the communications are fantastic to Malaga Airport now. You can fly direct to most places in the world. You can get the fast high-speed train to Madrid. A couple of hours drive away, you're in Portugal. You can get a ferry across to Tangiers in Morocco. And generally the Spanish people, I've been here for a long time, as you know, and I think the Spanish people are a very warm, embracing nation, and it's just a delightful place to live in.
Excellent. Well, look, thanks for that. And in terms of the Andalusian property market in particular, how would you assess that at the moment? Do you think it's a good time to buy? And where would you think the best opportunities are, depending on whether you're an investor, looking for a second home, a holiday home, let's call it, or in terms of retiring?
I think it's an extremely good time to buy. There are many new developments springing up along the coast. The hotspots, or the Golden Triangle, as they call it, Marbella, Estepona, Benavides, which has really attracted the sort of luxury market. Lots of different nationalities, high-end earners from the UK, Sweden, Germany, Eastern Europe, and from the States now are buying in quite big numbers here. And the actual stats are up from last year. The price per square meter now, I think in Marbella, is about 4,600 euros per square meter. But I think it's important that, when you're looking at a place to buy, why you're looking to buy, is to the location is hugely important, as is the amenities and facilities which they offer now these days. So there seems no sign in any let up of the construction and the development and of buyers coming in here at the moment.
Okay, great. And I guess a question that isn't only applicable to Andalusia, but which people think about all over the world. And I know it's very relevant in Spain at the moment because we discussed this earlier. What are the pros and cons of buying off plan versus completed properties in the Andalusia area? Have you got any thoughts on that?
Yes, I do, because I've been dealing in both. So the obviously, I mean, there's the fairly obvious that if you buy a second-hand property, you've got a tangible asset. You're given the front door keys on signing, on completion, and you can walk in and enjoy your home. They may need a couple of updates and sort of modifications to get it to your liking. But as I say, it's an immediate sort of use can be made of it. Whereas when you're buying off plan, so to speak, well, you are buying I suppose you're buying a sort of a chunk of air, and it's a bit of a leap of faith. But having said that, if you get it right and you buy into the right development, and these days there are some very, very top quality developments here, the building materials and spec are much higher than they used to be, say 20 years ago. And also the amenities and facilities that they put into some of these places, like sort of indoor swimming pools, heated outdoor pools, tennis courts, paddle courts, and spas, and sort of co-working spaces are all pretty much the norm these days. So if you get all that right and you pick the right place in the right location, you've bought into a pretty sound investment.
Okay, excellent. And obviously, with most of our audience probably being expats and international investors, can you give us some idea why in Spain it's really important to have an independent and trusted broker to help them with, the buying process and the legal process? And can you highlight perhaps some of the typical mistakes that people make when they invest or buy into Andalusia?
Yes, sure. I mean, obviously, choosing the right broker is important, a trusted broker, somebody who knows the area, I think, and speaks the language is important. And secondly, choosing a good legal counsel. I would always advocate to every buyer that you must choose a good lawyer. And having been down here for so many years, I do have quite a list of trusted lawyers who again normally are bilingual. Some of them will speak multiple languages, and that's so important, because what they need to do is, they need to carry out the correct due diligence for any future purchase. They may need to make sure there's clear title, there's no outstanding debt on the property, that it's been make sure that the property is correctly registered at the land registry office. And also it's important to instruct them, when you're dealing with a second-hand property, to instruct them to make sure that the utilities have been changed over correctly from the seller's name to the new buyer. That's something occasionally I've seen not that hasn't been done properly, and the poor buyer has come in and he's found he's got outstanding electricity bills and water bills from the previous owner, simply because the lawyer hasn't done his job properly. So that's a pitfall. Another pitfall that I often see is when you're doing refurbishment projects, and I've done a few project management here. I'm currently doing one at the moment in a little village up in the hills called Galfin, and it's quite important to choose the correct architect. You'll need an architect if you want to apply for a major building works license. That means if you want to alter the structure or do any demolition work, you will have to apply to the local town hall for a major building works. And that's where you need an architect. An architect will have to come in, write up a project for you, get it approved by the College of Architects, get it signed off, and then off you go. And as I say, I've had a few hiccups with some architects in the past where they've been paid quite a lot of money, and they haven't done their job. So that's been my job, to chase them up and sort of correct any mistakes that they may have made along the way there. So yeah, I think those are my main sort of alerts to people to be wary of.
Okay, that sounds great. I mean, I guess the key thing for us to emphasize for, expats and international clients is that obviously, the language could be a barrier, and therefore, if people go it alone in terms of trying to organize their own architects or picking solicitors and lawyers, in the past, you and I have seen that this is where people have run into problems. And I think, the benefit for clients of Astra Worldwide offering this sort of one-stop service through you is that basically, we can take them through the whole process. So, we can help them decide where they want to look for a property. You can basically, if they want to come over, show them properties that they might be interested in looking at, so they can give us their budget before they come over, whether they want to be on the beach or in the hills, whether they're looking for off plan or something that's finished, or whether they're looking for something completely different, like a house on a golf course or a Cortillo. And I think interesting what you said about the fact that you've had quite extensive experience in terms of property management. And basically, really, I think what you're saying is that we can even cater to people who might want to, buy an old development up in the hills, and that, you have the contacts and the skills basically, to manage that for clients from, start to finish. So, I mean, would you say that could also be a good investment? So if people, let's say, go a little bit inland and they find, or we find for them, or give them the option of some, different pieces of land where there's the option to sort of do conversions or renovate properties. Do you also see that as being potentially interesting from an investment perspective, and also as a lifestyle perspective for maybe families who want to move to Spain?
Yes, definitely. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Luckily, having been down here for so long, 40 years, I almost consider myself more Spanish than English. My children were born here. I've spent all my adult life here. So over that time, I've built up a sort of huge list of contacts in all different sort of sectors. And yes, I speak the language pretty much fluently. Yeah, I definitely concur with that. Buying a little sort of cortijo or even a little village house in one of the pueblos, white pueblos up in the hills there. Recently had experience of a client of mine who bought a couple of small townhouses. She sort of gutted the kitchens and bathrooms. I think she put new windows in. Um, and she sold it, I think, within 6 to 9 months, and made a little profit on it, not a huge profit, but she was so delighted with it, she decided to go ahead and purchase another one, which is in the same village. Then this is a bigger project, which I'm now managing, and it's going very well. I mean, we've had our sort of hurdles and hoops to jump through with local bureaucracy and the town hall and their technical department, but that's where my job comes in, and I sort of have to visit them and sort of keep badgering them. Please, can we get this stamped? Can you approve this? I absolutely agree with you. That's definitely a possible sort of investment, but potential investment is not necessarily buying into a new build, but also buying a doer-upper. Inland is a definite yes, in my opinion. You do have to be slightly more aware when you're going inland and dealing with rural property. There is quite a difference between urban property. Urban is the village nucleus and considered urban. Anything outside that is considered rural. The planning laws are a little stricter. They do vary from town hall to town hall, but they do require a bit more legal work and paperwork to maybe do refurbishment to and things like that. But yeah, definitely, I would agree with that.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, I think, Don, the key takeaways for people listening into this podcast is that I think we strongly feel that Andalusia is probably one of the more attractive areas in Europe at the moment, not just from a lifestyle perspective, but, I think there are genuine property investment opportunities there, whether it be inland or on the coast. The Spanish economy has definitely boomed since the end of COVID. And I think for people who are looking at an alternative property investment, that we can say that probably Andalusia would be one of the best areas in Spain or potentially even in Europe to invest. And then obviously you've got the lifestyle benefits as well. I mean, we haven't really talked about Malaga, but I think Malaga has become one of the most popular cities in Europe now. It's attracted a lot of startups and entrepreneurs.
Yep.
And Spain is now offering various visas to people like, global nomad visas. And I think all these changes in the government, which, sometimes we're not aware of, have also, impacted the attractiveness in particular of Andalusia as a destination. And I guess, you're obviously an example of this. I mean, what would be the sort of key things that you'd like to highlight for our audience as to, why you'll probably never you leave Spain, and what gives you the most sort of satisfaction, enjoyment out of living in sort of Andalusia where you are, as it were?
I think Andalusia is, as you say, it's probably one of the most popular destinations in Europe, if not wider afield. I mean, Andalusia geographically is enormous. It's 90,000 square kilometers. I feel that I could easily spend the rest of my days just holidaying in and around Andalusia, Portugal, and Morocco, with no need to sort of jet off to sort of these exotic holiday resorts. So yeah, that's definitely my place. I think as well the cost of living is a big advantage here. I mean, I was recently back in the UK, and as you know, I couldn't believe it. I went for a coffee and a cup of tea, and it was £7 or £8 for a cup of tea and a cup of coffee, which is equivalent of 9, 10 euros here. And to be perfectly frank with you, I could take out 2 or 3 people for breakfast here on that. So that's one of the things that one of the important things, the cost of living. The fact that the sun comes out pretty much most days adds an awful lot to your demeanor. I mean, you get up, with a spring in your step. There's so much going on here as well, James. I mean, there's especially Marbella. I mean, big tennis events coming up. I mean, Novak Djokovic has bought a big villa in Sierra Blanca, in one of the most luxurious parts of Marbella. He holidays here quite often. Rafael Nadal has just opened up a tennis academy the other side of Marbella in the Don Carlos Hotel. This year we've got a Davis Cup tie between Denmark and Spain. I tend to focus on tennis because, as you know, I'm an avid fan. Also, there's a big music event here for about 2 or 3 months every year called the Starlight Gala. That takes place in a natural auditorium hewn out of the rocks in the foothills of Marbella. They have big names coming in. You might know a few: James, Duran Duran, Tom Jones, Gypsy Kings, Beach Boys, Santana. So there's just so much going on. I think there's something like 30 top-class golf courses between Malaga and Gibraltar. I think per square mile, that's more than any other place in Europe. As I say, there's never anything lacking to do here. There's always something going on, and it's usually always outdoors, which is nice.
Excellent, great. I mean, I think what you're highlighting there really is that Andalusia can appeal to everyone. Whether you want to go out and party in Puerto Banús, go to the various markets, play sports, enjoy walking, water sports, or whatever. I mean, really, it does truly it can appeal to everyone. There's something there for everyone. I think, as you
Sure.
highlighted, the cost of living is also really important. I think we can also mention that for those who might want to move there permanently, the healthcare is also, first class, much better than many other places, in the world, like the UK and the US, much more affordable. I think from a security perspective, this is often something people worry about when they move, if they're elderly or with children. Again, like everywhere in the world, there are a few issues, but generally, as you and I have found, I've always felt I'm very secure in Spain. I've never felt threatened or worried. So I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, so for our audience listening in, I think, if you're interested in, investing in Spanish property, you're looking to maybe retire there, spend time there, with your family for a few years, experiencing a new lifestyle, a culture. Uh, I mean, I think we can say that, Andalusia is probably one of the best places in the world to spend some time. And I think obviously having you on board with Astra Worldwide, I really believe that we have the skills and the knowledge and the contacts to really make it a seamless and easy transition for those who want to invest or move to Spain. So Don, look, I really appreciate you taking the time to help us with this podcast today. Is there anything else that you'd like to sort of add before we sort of sign off and end this podcast?
Not really, James. I'm greatly looking forward to collaborating with Astra Worldwide. As you said earlier, we've known each other for a long time, and we've talked in the past about working together, and it's finally taking shape. And I firmly believe, as you do, that there's a great future for helping people to move out here. Be it for a second holiday home, as an investment, or to as a permanent move, as a to retire. So yes, I'm greatly looking forward to it. I think one little anecdote. If you were to ask me, just the final sign off, if you were to ask me sort of what encapsulates for me this part of the world, I'll just quote a little post I saw on one of the social media sites the other day. It was a photo of a chalk sandwich board outside a little typical Spanish cafe bar, and it was written on it, "If you're in a hurry, there's a McDonald's 10 minutes away."
Excellent. Nice anecdote to leave us with. And once again, I'd like to thank everyone for listening into our podcast. Thank you also to Don for these valuable insights. And if any of you have got any questions about what we've discussed on this podcast and want to reach out to us to learn how we can help you, please drop us an email or send us a message. And yeah, bye to all. And I look forward to hearing from you on the next podcast. Bye for now.